All right. Welcome back to the third episode of GG's with EG. Definitely a big GG after this week against G2. Kind of a rough one, ready to move forward and face Sentinels already. I think it's one of those ones where it's just, it kind of puts a damper on the rest of the afternoon, especially on a Sunday. Was hoping for more, obviously. I think we all were, right, from the team. Tough one, especially after you win a map one and come into a chance to maybe vanquish the demons against G2 after having faced them in the playoffs and be like, okay, like, hey, we can hang with these guys, right? And we have a chance here to maybe steal a win in a very, very crowded VCT Americas. But unfortunately, maps 2 and 3 were I'd rather not speak of them and maybe just talk about some of the other pieces. So, obviously, like, one bright spot, we saw Corrode for the first time. Pretty good map. Obviously, one of the newest ones. Only played a few times so far in VCT Americas, but one I like a lot. I think it's got a lot of angles. The atmosphere, the ambiance is cool. I kind of like, in a similar way to Sunset, where it's got like the mid lane that can kind of branch you off into some other bomb sites, and just a cool looking map. Excited to see it. We obviously saw EG on it for the first time. What are your high level thoughts on the week against G2 and the map?
Yeah, this is GG's. So regardless of a win or a loss, I think this is going to be a situation we're going to have to improve from, whether we won or we lost. Definitely credit to G2 for keeping up their momentum, even with the stand-in. I think they're doing a really good job putting Baby Bay in situations and on agents that he can be kind of mostly self-sufficient and also get help on their rotates, especially on defense side when he needs it. And we saw that on Corrode, to your point on map
Yep.
one. I really like the map as well. I traditionally like the 2-side maps over the 3-side maps, just, rough, because I think it's probably coming from my CS background as well. We never saw a third site there. But
Yeah.
I do like the aspect of like being able to split through a mid, and there's no choke point in the sense like like Haven has like a you can technically split through mid, but it's a little bit different, right? There's no mid in the same way. There's different areas. So one thing I like about Corrode a lot is some of these defense is like site defenses. They're crazy to watch. I mean, G2 almost pulled off a crazy comeback on the second half against us, and I wonder how much that also does to change kind of our momentum even after we win map one, going into map two and map three, winning like that when we were up, I think 12-6, right? So definitely
Yep.
those are areas that we can improve from, learn from, and even individually, some of that stuff doesn't even get brought up in review, right? It's something like as a player and coach individually, you try to kind of reflect and understand, okay, could I have done better going to the rest of the series? Did that even affect me? If not, fine, move on, focus on the in game. So definitely learning all around. But one thing that I really liked is that I think the ability to kind of, when we're in the game and it's going back and forth, I still think
Mhm.
we brought that resilience in those moments. I think map two and map three are a totally different story. We never really got into it the same way that we've been getting into games in the last, week one, week two against 2G and C9. Even though we lost against C9, we had kind of like that. It was competitive throughout the entire
Yeah.
maps, right? So I think when we're in those situations, we're still good. We're improving in those situations, and of course, map two and map three against G2 went totally in one direction. We have to understand why that was the case. But in the situations where, it was 50-50 for us before, can we come out on top? Can we not? Those are areas that I'm still happy to say, like, I would say we're improving, we're closing things out, and that's good.
That
So
is good.
yeah,
Yeah.
looking into next week, then Sentinels historically
Yes.
been a really interesting matchup for our team, for Potter. Um, First of all, like, what are your thoughts on how Sentinels has been doing overall? I think this is a year. I mean, really, the last 12 months have been really, with their roster changes and also their international performances, and they
Yep.
seem to be killing it. And then sometimes they lose momentum, and G2 seems to step up as like that number one VCT Americas team. What are your thoughts on Sentinels as a whole right now?
Yeah. They're looking really good. It's been a good year. I mean, good year for them. I think they've qualified for all international events this year. They continue to look always look strong, and I think actually like somewhat sometimes overlooked in terms of like their firepower, or just, I mean, obviously like they're the fan favorite and everyone, probably the most followed team in VCT Americas, but sometimes I think like maybe just not having like they just sometimes lose the, I don't know if it's like the lack of reputation or whatnot, but I feel like they're sometimes overlooked a little bit, but they've always been very, very strong. And they're coming in off of another big win over Cloud9 last week, right? This
That
past
was a
week.
statement. Yeah.
Yeah, big statement win. 13-5, 13-9. So I don't know. I feel like they're a team where you think you close them out and somebody always shows up, right? Like even for like a guy like Zelsis will always somehow get in key kills against us and take it. It's one of those matchups where the past couple of games, the past couple of times they've had our number, right? Like Sen City Classic, they took us down. They beat us in stage 1. Before that, I think like they hadn't beat us for a very long time. So it's like 2021 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think time is hopefully back on our side here in terms of being able to maybe get them in a week where maybe they overlook us, right? They've qualified. Maybe they figure out like, hey, like we're gonna try some other stuff. We're not gonna show comps for playoffs, or we're gonna just test some things out on stage, and we get the chance to, really show up and get a win. I think like it's gonna be an uphill battle probably the whole week, but like we've shown that we can play against anyone when we're on, and when like when I feel like we've got the mental going. Sometimes that's tough for teams on stage, but like we've been able to show we can hang with the top teams. So I feel like it's another chance. It's one of these games we talked about. Maybe it was last week or it was 2 weeks after Cloud9. You have to get Cloud9, G2, Sentinels at mid run in this group stage. Like we've got to try to win one of these 3. And this is kind of our last one of those 3 to try to get. So how do you prepare, like coming off of like as a former coach, right? It's a tough loss against G2. How do you prepare? How do you think the team's practicing, getting ready for Sentinels?
Yeah, I think I need to pull in moments like that. Pulling like a Bill Belichick kind of press conference moment is like, our focus onto the next one, right?
Well, you think having a 37-year-old?
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. It's right now we're preparing for Cincinnati.
I mean, he in his approach, I think I see a lot of similarities as well with Potter in terms of like, hey, like this is how we're going to do things. We're going to be able to, overcome this, but we need to be able to get the fundamentals right and really hammer those in. And of course, when you lose or when you win and it's one-sided, either way, win or a loss, you really have to understand, okay, like, is that replicable? If it is, then you have fundamentals that you have to worry about. Meaning, if you're winning in a way that is, replicable, great, your fundamentals are strong. But on the flip side, if you lose in a way that you can lose like that again, you got to check your fundamentals, right? It's kind of the yin and the yang. So I think those are the topics probably in review sessions going on this week. And I'm very confident in the team and with Potter to be able to rebound against Sentinels. And I think one thing as well, you brought up Zelsis, not all roles in a team are built to carry. Clearly, right? There's not enough. You can't have 5 carries on a team, whether you're talking about FPS games or MOBA games or whatever, in any game, right? Some roles are really not built to carry, but they're built to capitalize on teammates who end up opening up the rounds or getting space. And I think that's something that I really enjoy watching in Sentinel, something that I really enjoy watching in our team as well. In a lot of ways, I think both teams actually have a similar getup when it comes to, okay, so there are some players that you expect to open up rounds. There's some players that throughout the week of practice, they're getting a lot of first kills, and you end up getting more map control in practice as a result. So what ends up happening is you're expecting certain parts of the map to be open at different points of the round, early round, mid round, late round. So you have to also be careful, putting my coach hat on, is if you're winning even within a round, forget about the scrim, but even if you're winning rounds in the same way a lot, you kind of have to artificially introduce different obstacles for your own self, because you may not have those same openings come match time.
Right.
And different teams play differently in scrims as well. What happens if our week of practice is really more against teams that decide to play for practice more than to win? And you never know, right? We're not in the other team's minds. We have to make those decisions on the fly during practice as well. So just wanted to provide a little bit insight into, how the week of practice carries into that weekend of matches. And you constantly, as a coach and as players as well, need to kind of sanity check. Okay, like, was this a little bit easier than I would have expected in a match? What just happened today in scrims? Or maybe this was a little bit more difficult than what I would expect, because really there's no reason that teams would, constantly do 3-man pushes over and over and over again, because maybe that's what the other team was practicing this day.
Right.
So those are definitely like self kind of reflection and just quick things you want to be able to check off. And that also keeps your ego and your pride in check as well, right? You're hitting these one taps and one bullets because in practices maybe the other team is a little bit more careless, right? Those things are definitely things that I think at a professional level go a long way. And also by the time match rolls around, especially against a team that has a similar kind of makeup as ours in Sentinels, I think it'll be a fun match for sure. And that's probably historically why it's been back and forth. We won a lot. They won the last couple of times, and hopefully the momentum is going to be swinging back into our favor this weekend.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's funny. It's like very interesting you talk about that, because I think it gets lost sometimes on the community, especially like scrim bucks, right? And like, we're seeing like you on the streamers panel, you see, this team's losing to this team in scrims, and it's like, when people play scrims, like they're not always just playing to win, right? Like you could be like, hey, we just want to practice like A retakes or something like that, right? And like you more focus on that side, and like so the numbers don't always mean, the round wins and that don't always mean the same thing if you're not actually like focusing on winning the match and you're actually just trying to work on something like from a fundamental standpoint. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I definitely have confidence in Potter that she's going to get the team back on board. I think it's also tough, like, with a limited slate of games, right? Like every game truly matters. And like, if for some reason you're off, right, it could be a lot of things, right? Sometimes you just wake up, you're just not feeling right. If you like, or you're just not shooting the way you felt like you shooting. I mean, tons of things could be off. And like, if it happens to be that day, that sucks. But like, that's, we only have so many opportunities, right? And just sometimes you're off, sometimes you're off. Those things happen. And like, it's unfortunate if it hits on your day, because like you only have 5-6 games to play, but we'll see. I'm excited for Sentinels. It's always a good match. It's always a fun one to watch. I know Zekin just hit, I think, 2,000 something kills.
Crazy.
Which is crazy for what? He's like 20 years old or something like that. So it'll be fun. Maybe we'll see another, Derek on Omen, Sova Nature even. It's kind of cool to see some of our players moving around into different kind of roles and agents. You really don't see them on too often. Derek especially has been playing a lot of different agents this year. Big Swiss Army knife for us. So let's talk about. I mean, we think we've got a good chance to send. Like as an EG fan or as EG CEO, like let's talk about like, okay, a little copium here, right? Like we're 1-2 going into this week, and like obviously like not great, but we shouldn't despair, right? Like my hope is that like, and this is like super high copium, but like Potter is just saving strats for a playoff run, and so like she's actually not showing maps we want to play or comps we want to actually like win on, so no one gets a read on us going into playoffs. It's like the most insane argument ever, but
they're pumping you full of hopium this time of week, huh?
Yeah. So like that's what my take on it. It's like, okay, like we're just like evil mastermind of the idea that we're not going to show anything, and we're just gonna we'll make it into playoffs. We know we can do that. And then we'll show up with everything just to make our run so we can qualify for champs.
You know, it is. I mean, I'm gonna jump right on this copium train, powered by hopium, whatever you want to say. But no, I mean, seriously, there is something to be said. Is top 4 of 6 in each group make playoffs, right?
Yep.
Definitely, you don't want to be last in that because you start in the lower bracket. There's definitely, you know, advantages of being top 3 for sure, right? But top 4 do make it to playoffs, and playoff runs are where it seems like when we're coming from behind, and you know, people are starting to overlook, like, oh, we got EG, that's great. That's honestly, it seems like that's where we kind of perform our best for various reasons. I think it's a little bit of like, I think Potter historically is really good at surprising with different comps and different strats, especially when people are they get used to a meta and suddenly you get a surprise meta shift because of something that Potter introduces, right? And she's really good at that. Exactly. So that is something I am looking forward to. We got to make it to playoffs. Obviously, we're still in that spot, I would say, right, you know, above 2G and Furia. We obviously are playing Furia the last match of the season. This next match against Sentinels would be huge in terms of like being able to, you know, keep in that top 4 for playoffs. Then again, right, you know, even if you win, you don't want Furia to be spoiler or play spoiler to your point. So no one is taking their foot off the gas, and I think we just need to make sure we at this point qualify to playoffs. And then I think a lot of more things come together when you start to see how the meta actually unfolds. Crowd would be in play there for 5 weeks. There'll be a lot more data on how other teams have kind of shifted their play style for stage 2. And who knows? I mean, G2 might be coming back and with their full lineup at that point, right? And they could even play spoiler if they're not, because right now they're, I think, 3rd or something like that, right? You don't want to end up playing G2 if they have their full lineup as well. I mean, you know, in terms of that's not how players think, but looking as fan perspective, that's scary. Your favorite team is now playing G2. At the same time, your favorite team is playing EG and it's playoffs and EG's the underdog. You also don't want to be on that side, right? We've historically proven. So there's things to be excited about for sure. I think really the best thing in these moments for team psyche and just like internal team dynamics is you have a great week of prep. You know, you review what you need to, and you have a great showing. And you lose or you win in ways that make sense and you're proud of and have minimal regrets, right? I think like it's really important to get that piece right in this point of the season. We're about to hit the last bit going into the hopefully playoffs of stage 2, right? And in these moments, you want to have minimal regrets and not be worrying about these outside things. Just do your best, do the best for your team. And I'm going to steal another, you know, Belichick quote in this moment too, where he often says something like mental toughness is doing the right thing for the team when it's not the best thing for you, right? To again, play to the point of not all roles are meant for carrying, but if you are one of those, you know, high performing, people, one of those roles that people look to perform extremely well, you also have the responsibility to, when you do perform well, make sure the rest of the team understands that you are grateful in the way that they're getting more freedom because some other teammates are not, and all these other things that come with being like a leader and one of the star players of a team, right? It all comes together, and I think those are the areas that Potter and our team historically does great at, especially when people are starting to write us off. So excited to see how next week goes.
Yeah, same. I love that. I love Belichick, obviously, like a great coach. From like just a mastermind smarts perspective, but also like a good system builder, team builder, right? Like in terms of just getting the right talent to perform in the right situations for the Patriots, right? And not just for like personal glory, if you will, all the time. So love that. I think like playoffs, right? Like definitely not out by a long shot. You know, we had the big win against 2G. Week 1 is looming large because like I think the first tiebreaker is head to head.
Yep.
So we're currently sitting with them tied at 4th after this last week, and then you know the Furia match at the end of week 5 is pretty important. Obviously, 2G will end up facing Sentinels in week 5. They face Cloud9 next week, so definitely not easy pushover games for them either. I think like you look at this group at least, and it's like every team is going to be a tough out for the most part. And, we have to, Furia, by the time we face them in week 5, could have all their players back. They've had some visa issues, I know. Yep. And so you're not really sure what you might expect, but like we just have to keep on winning and keep on focusing on the things we can control and put our best foot forward each week. And I think that's what we're going to come out and do against Sentinels, and excited to see that match.
Yeah, I mean, really, this week is way more important internally than anything else in terms of results can even speak to, because how you rebound with the folks that you're spending hours and hours and hours every day, right? You're going to battle with them, right? Yeah. And we only see a portion of that in these matches, and we have the luxury of also seeing kind of behind the curtains there as well, because we're part of the organization as well. And man, I mean, not for a lack of effort or trying or just all of the above. And something that I really am proud of when we show up in these matches, how we are prepping going into them is something to be really studied in the future, in terms of like the different effort, different team discussions that go into it, all the extra aim routines, or looking over the strat names. I mean, it's so interesting how there's these internal narratives, or these narratives that we don't really get to shine a light on, because of course there's prep involved and some secret sauce involved as well. But really, I mean, the best thing, what brings a smile to my face, and I know to yours as well, is how many times we get to see the fruits of our labor, so to speak, right? Being able to convert all that into dubs, and let's start this weekend with Sentinels. I mean, it's going to be an exciting match. Can't wait to see Kaplan versus Potter yet again.
Yep, should be a great one on stage. Hopefully you all tune in, and we'll see you again next week.
See you guys next week.